This podcast of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, is sponsored by AAA Heating and Air.
The premier HVAC company in the Midlands is growing. Are you a top HVAC technician?
AAA Heating and Air is looking for dedicated applicants to fill their fast-growing service department with top-notch HVAC technicians.
If you're the best, then they want you. If you're ready to stop working and start a career, you can earn up to $100,000 plus a year at AAA Heating and Air.
Quality candidates will have at least 2 years experience and a good driving record. Benefits include top industry salaries, commission on service and unit sales, set call limits, company-provided take-home vehicle and gas card, company-provided cell phone and tablet, health, dental, and vision benefits, 401k retirement plan with company match, and scaled PTO based on length of service.
Contact Roy and Dana Finley at 803-677-1500 or check out their job postings on Facebook or ZipRecruiter.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
Sponsored by Brian's Heating and Cooling.
Brian's Heating and Cooling, where they take your comfort personally. Give them a call for all your commercial and residential comfort needs. 803-796-1788 or briansheatingandcooling.com.
Antoine Juice Wells breaks away at the 30, 20, going for the pylon at the 5, dives for it. Call it. Touchdown, Carolina.
Football Friday on your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Welcome in Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs here on The Game. Tyler, West, and Chris along with you on a Football Friday, the final Football Friday of the month of September. We're almost halfway through the regular season, guys. Believe it or not, South Carolina getting set to go into its bye week after taking on Tennessee this upcoming weekend and then play Florida. Boom, you're halfway done with the year.
Hard to believe.
Don't do that, Tyler. I'm gonna be on the opposite side of what Colin doesn't like you counting down to the beginning of the season.
You don't like me counting down in the season?
I don't like you counting down to the end of the season. Let's enjoy this while we got it. Although I did see on the Twitter/X/whatever it is.
That's apparently, is it going to go away tomorrow or something? I saw something
Again?
about that today. I see it every couple weeks.
No.
Tomorrow's the last day. I'm like, is it?
No, it's not.
Come on. I've almost gotten to 1,000 followers. Can we hang on for a little bit longer?
Everybody go follow Tyler at TylerHead18.
That is correct.
Boom. Look at that.
Good
It's
pull.
a Friday. Thank you. But this is like that stretch where we have football every single day except for Tuesday?
So
I think
yes,
that's Tuesday.
Maction starts next week. Tuesday's the only day we don't have games. So I saw the thing, it's for out of the next 60 days, we have football for
59.
55-ish of them, 54, something like that. Because then you do start getting some Tuesday games in early October, like Sunbelt, Funbelt, those kind of things. So we're almost there.
I thought there was only one day we don't have football.
Maybe it is only one day.
It was arguable that we got football last night. Kind of a slate of games last night.
Hey, Jacksonville State and Sam Houston State played a bit of a barn burner.
They did. I turned that one on in Jacksonville State, future Gamecock opponent this season. They were down.
Pretty good start this year.
They are 4-1, 2-0 in Conference USA. They were down, I think, 21-7 to a defeated. That's the opposite of undefeated. Sam Houston State squad. But then they came back, won 35-27, scored 21 in an overtime game.
Yeah.
So that one was decent, but the other ones, not too great.
And Wes, by the way, you're right. So this upcoming Tuesday is the last day without football for the next month to two-ish months, because the following week, October the 17th, you start Tuesday night games.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we'll have football wall-to-wall every single day for a month and a half.
It's awesome.
Some of those games will be better than others, but what do y'all think of the slate on Saturday?
I was just going to ask that. Well, I would start with tonight. Pretty good one tonight.
Yeah, Utah and Oregon State.
At Oregon State in Corvallis. DJ Uiagalelei, quarterback for the Beavers, who did drop a game last week to, I believe, Washington State. Actually got that one. I beat Wes on that pick. Probably still beating me overall pretty badly.
Yeah, what do you mean? What do you mean? Probably
the Pac-2 Bowl,
the Tupac
Bowl, the nobody wants us bowl, according to Lee Corso.
DJ, by the way, having a pretty good year. 828 yards, 7 touchdowns, 3 picks. Having a nice year.
Maybe he wasn't the problem in Clemson.
You think? I think there's some other issues aside from him. But Utah, number 10, 4-0. Kyle Whittingham, who's like quietly one of the best coaches in college football over the last...
For, 20 years?
One of the longest tenured coaches out there. I mean, close
he's
to
like
it.
quietly the best coach in the world.
Yeah, I mean, he's really, really good. Like, they are just... They have every now and then they'll turn in a 5-win season or something like that. But typically, they're either really, really solid or sometimes really, really good. And this could be one of those years. Oregon State, Jonathan Smith's done a really good job out there, their head coach. So that one starts at 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Check it out. I think it's going to be a pretty good game.
Now, Utah still without Cam Rising. Nate Johnson's played okay, but that defense is so good.
Yeah.
That's really what won them the game last week against UCLA.
Yeah. That was an impressive win. And Washington State's having a good year. Beat Oregon State last year. But, yeah, that's a good one. Here, let me give you one that I've got my eye on, Wes, since you asked about the weekend slate. I actually have an upset pick in for the SEC, although let me see if this is actually an upset. Nope, that's not an upset. I do have Kentucky over Florida. Kentucky, it appears, is favored by 1. Even though the Gators are ranked 22nd, Kentucky, I guess outside the top 25, although they're undefeated, 1-0 in the SEC.
Kentucky's such a weird team because, like, what do we really know about them right now?
Tyler, you could insert what do we really know about X team.
That's true.
There's a bunch of them.
That is true, but Kentucky especially. I mean, Ball State, Eastern Kentucky, Akron, Vanderbilt. Struggle with Eastern Kentucky. I mean, they pulled away from Vanderbilt or last week, and Vanderbilt's Vanderbilt. But, like, definitively, if they won against Florida, I would not be surprised. But if they also got blown out, I also wouldn't be surprised. Like, it's just, I don't know really how to gauge them yet.
Well, I feel the same about Florida. You know, I mean, I don't. Florida beat Tennessee, sure. Is Tennessee that good? I don't know. We'll find out a little bit more this weekend. Like, we're getting more and more data on all these teams. But I think it goes back to what we talk to all the time, and that is there is kind of this glut of SEC teams that are all pretty close to each other. And you've got Georgia at the top. You know, you can argue, okay, who's 2 through 5 maybe. You might have a 2 through 4. Maybe you don't even go that far. And there's a bunch of teams that are pretty close where it's kind of going to be a week-to-week thing to determine. But this is certainly an important game, you know, in the SEC East. I like Kentucky still in it because I'm not saying I'm sold on Kentucky. I'm still a little less sold on Florida, I think.
Florida, I think, has proven that their defense is really stout.
Yep.
It certainly shut down Tennessee's run game a couple of weeks ago. That defense was about the only thing to write home about, and they're pretty, I'd say, weak win over Charlotte last week because that offense, outside of the run game, which was great against Tennessee, like, Graham Mertz isn't special. And they haven't asked him to do a whole lot, but, like, if you comes down to where the game has to be in his hands, I don't think he can do it.
Yeah, he's not special, but I think to give credit where it's due, they've done a pretty good job of putting him in good spots and putting him in a spot to succeed, at least schematically. Now, Florida's dealing with really the same issues it seems like a lot of people are dealing with, and that's just, can you protect him? Like, can you give him time to operate in the pocket? And, you know, he was a guy that came in, you're kind of just like, yeah, he's a transfer quarterback, but he's not an elite guy. But I think I was surprised, actually, at what he was able to do just from a mobility standpoint against Tennessee. Like, added a little bit more of that dynamic than I thought that he had. Had some physicality to him as well. You know, I think there was a run down at the goal line where he showed that off. And then, you know, just kind of letting his personality come out a little bit against Tennessee, which was good to see. So that may be a fit for them. I think that gives them a little bit more of an upside than we maybe were giving them credit for coming in. But still, we obviously look at all these things from a South Carolina perspective, and I do think that game is a little bit more difficult than we probably thought it was entering the season, whereas Tennessee's maybe a little bit more not as difficult than we thought entering the season, but still both very much toss-up games. And I would be very curious to see, and obviously we'll see what happens for both teams this weekend. I'll be very curious to see what the line will be for South Carolina and Florida. Obviously, that will be in 2 weeks because to bye.
Any other games that have y'all's eye? Any other upset picks?
Let's
Kansas,
see.
Texas. No. No. I've got the Longhorns in that one.
So
They're favored by 16.5.
I did pick Duke over Notre Dame.
Oh, I like
See,
that.
that's going to be a good game, though, man.
Yeah.
Like Duke, I feel like Duke is for real. And Notre Dame's coming off of obviously a heartbreaker. And, I think that's at Duke, right? Yeah, it's at Duke.
First time they've ever had game day.
Oh, that is cool.
It's gonna be an interesting environment.
Duke has whooped everybody. They beat Clemson by 3 touchdowns. They have not played any other good football team. They played Lafayette, Northwestern, and UConn, but they have handily beat all of
They've
them.
whooped them.
They whooped them.
Beat them the way you're supposed to beat them.
That's right. So, yeah, I mean, if they can beat Notre Dame.
What if Duke is, like, legit?
Or if they're the out-of-nowhere team this year.
Didn't you
That
say
would
they
be
are?
so fun. That would be so fun.
Didn't you say they were?
No, I mean,
real?
like, college football, like, playoff legit.
Oh.
What if they're, like,
I don't know if I can go there.
all year last year, everybody was like, TCU, we'll see what. And then they just kept winning.
Love the quarterback. Like their defense. And they are a very, very experienced team. Shane Beamer's been talking about that a lot lately. He went up there and said that about Mississippi State, said that about Furman. Georgia's Georgia, North Carolina. He said it this week about Tennessee. He said, hey, I feel like I get up here every week and talk about how it's a team full of juniors and seniors. And I do think that counts for something. A team like Duke, they've done a good job evaluating. Mike Elko's getting a big job soon. Big job A that opens is going to have him in the mix. I think we've seen him on the list for Michigan State. So we'll see what else opens. But
Well,
he'll be on those lists.
Duke can be good enough. Maybe he just stays there.
He could. Gets paid well. The expectation.
I mean, God, how long was Cutcliffe there?
He was there a while, and he didn't have to do anything special for a good while.
Right.
Eventually, something may change, but Duke's not going to have unrealistic expectations. And this year that he's had already is going to buy him, I think, a lot of cachet.
Duke is a fit job. Like you gotta find the right fit on both sides. I think for that, but you do also have to be a really good coach in terms of like fundamentals, developing players.
Sure.
Creating the type of environment that you need to get. You're not going to ever get like the superstars
Right.
at Duke, but you can get under the radar guys at Duke if you can develop them and keep them in your program. I think so. It has to be a fit. This is obviously so far a really good fit for them. And hey, look, Duke fans will actually support football.
Sure.
When it's exciting, when you're winning. I don't even know if it's when you're winning. I think it's when you're competing.
When you're decent.
Yeah, they will support. I know it's a basketball school, but they will support. I mean, that was a great environment against Clemson.
Yeah.
And Duke's defense was just rallying to the football, played with confidence. They did not look like they were deer in the headlights at all playing Clemson. And I would expect the same this week. Is that a night game?
It is. It's the ABC 7:30 game. So it will be on the same time as Carolina.
I'm about to change my pick. Go Duke. I kind of would love that for Duke, honestly.
I think it'd be cool. And I think there's certainly the letdown factor for Notre Dame coming off of a highly emotional game where you end up losing in the last second. Look, Sam Hartman's a great quarterback. I think he's going to go out there and put up great numbers. But you mentioned Duke's defense. Like, I think that's what wins out in the end here.
Yeah, well, we'll see if Notre Dame can get 11 players on the field for their defense.
Apparently they've been doing that all season because more like videos cropping up against like NC State a couple weeks ago having 10 men on the field. Like, this is an issue.
Florida's been doing it too on special teams. They've had it multiple times. It's like an epidemic.
It's just an extra point. We don't need all the guys out there. No big deal, right?
Have y'all seen the old school, I believe it's Buddy Ryan, late game, 13 men on the field defense?
I know, but I believe it.
Didn't South Carolina have that this year? Either a 12 or 13?
I think they had a 13 goal line.
So
but,
they ran that?
Well, no, that was not on purpose.
Was it Friday Night Lights where the coach tackled the guy from the sideline?
Yes, it was. That was awesome. Riggins.
No, this is an actual. So this is in like the trick plays.
Yeah.
Tyler's telling me I can't tell a story, so we'll just tell it on the other side.
That's fine. We'll tell that story and get into buy or sell as the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs, rolls on your Football Friday here on the game. Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on a Football Friday. Tyler, West, and Chris along with you. Get into buy or sell in just a moment. But during the commercial break, I looked up Buddy Ryan's 13-man defense, which apparently is called the Polish goal line.
Pretty cool, right?
It's innovative. I'll give him that.
Well, not anymore because it's from like 30 years ago. But
Well, yeah.
At the time,
very innovative.
So basically, if you were Notre Dame, they had 2 plays at the goal line, right?
Correct.
So if the other team had time for 2 plays, and it's already close down there, you put 13 men on the field for the first play. That guarantees, you hope, 13 versus 11.
You would think.
That guarantees that you're going to get a stop on the first one. Now, it's going to be half the distance to the goal, but they don't put time back on the clock. So then you have to put your 11 on the field for the next play. But you basically, in theory, are saying we're going to only have to stop them once instead of stop them twice. That was the Buddy Ryan 13-man defense.
The logic is there. I get it.
It's there. I got to think there should be some rule negating your ability to do that. It says, like, you can't purposely put 13 men on the field. Like, if you're...
Well, how do you purposely do that?
Isn't
it always accidental?
Well,
I mean,
no.
How do you prove it?
No, you can't, but I'm saying if it's like an obvious... If there's 11 guys on the field and you just send in 2 guys and nobody's even pretending they're trying to leave, like...
Well, okay, so you sub out 2 and you send in, what, 5? I don't know.
You sub out 2, you send in 4.
4. That's 4, okay.
Yeah.
So, simple mistake.
Yeah. I'm saying if you made it a simple mistake,
and you can have like 2 guys that run halfway out there, then run back. Like, oh no, we're supposed to stay in the game, and just make it look confusing.
That's what I'm saying. You got to sell it a little bit. I feel like there's a little bit of like if you just didn't sell it, like you can't run because at what point do you? Hey, we're gonna do the 20-man. Like at some point there's
like 13.
Stop the madness.
13 is a number that is not as hard to notice.
Yes, and enough though that you should get the stop.
Yeah, that's the fine line. Like, 15. It's like, okay, there's definitely way too many guys out here.
Like, what is going on here?
Okay. Anyway, that's your history lesson for the day. The Bud Ryan 13-man Polish defense.
Had you heard of that before?
I had not heard of that before, so thank you for informing me about it. I will see if I can work that in on NCAA football when I play. Next time.
Yes, that's a cheat code you gotta use to get that.
Anyways, it's time for our favorite segment of the week. It's time for buy or sell.
Oh, we still don't have the music. Chris, sing us a song.
You guys gotta tell me what music you want.
Wes did a point, like, play it. It was like, what are we playing? We don't have anything right
All right, we need that. We'll get on that. But all right, we're making these up as we go.
Okay.
Awesome.
So
it's the best way.
All right, I got a good one.
Okay.
Buy or sell. Xavier Legette will have more receiving yards than the rushing yards for Tennessee's top rusher in the game.
Okay.
So
good one.
It would probably be Legette has more receiving yards than Jalen Wright does rushing yards, but we're gonna take it one step further and say their top rusher, whoever that may be. So Legette out receives Tennessee's top rusher. And they for context, like they got some dudes.
They do.
Very high yards per carry.
Yeah.
Jalen Wright has rushed for 312 yards on 42 carries this year. Legette has 556 yards receiving on 27 carries, 3 touchdowns.
So their best rushing performance this season was Dylan Sampson last week against UTSA 139 yards on the ground.
On about 10 carries, or did they? Was it like an explosive? Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. It doesn't really matter.
That's Tennessee, San Antonio.
It was 11 carries, long of 44.
Okay, yeah.
So,
who's feeling good about this?
I actually feel pretty good about it. I'll buy it.
I think you gotta buy it, right? That's one where I think you're overthinking it.
Really?
Yeah.
And their secondaries.
Give Xavier Leggett.
Great.
What's that number again? His number is way higher than their other rushers. Now I know they have 3,
Sure.
right? But you also need to consider that.
Yeah,
they may spread the wealth a little bit more.
And look, the running, the ground game is the best thing they have on their offense. Like that is what they're going to try and do the most of, more likely than not. So I definitely think they split these carries to where, could somebody get 60 or 70 yards? Sure, but I think Leggett can easily eclipse that.
Okay.
You think you kind of look like you're
No.
you're selling
I
it.
mean, it's not. Well, here's the thing. It's not like I'm sure Leggett will probably have a big day, but I just feel like running yardage seems to be a little bit more like consistent. Whereas now Leggett's been able to do it every game so far, so maybe you are talking me into it.
Well, what was Georgia's high rusher in the game? It was Dajuan Edwards, but what did he have? He have an 80 something. I feel like could be wrong. I don't know.
Hold on, I thought he got over 100.
He might have.
I feel like y'all have talked me into buying this.
We are trying to.
All right, whatever. I can't go against Leggett. I'll buy it too. We're just going straight up
Edwards
Homer. We all are going to pick South Carolina. This is the Homer show.
He had 118.
Yeah, you're right, Tyler. 118, 20 carries, 118, 5.9.
Okay. How about this one? Tennessee will. I don't know. I'm stuck on the Russian thing. South Carolina will hold Tennessee below their rushing average for this year.
Which is 229
yards
per game.
Okay, we're going to change this on the fly. South Carolina will hold Tennessee under 150 yards rushing. And if they do that, they probably win the game.
If they do that, I think they definitely win the game. I'll buy it.
Under 150.
Under 150.
I sell it.
Think that's tough?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think it's tough. Yeah, I think they go over that.
And I'll say this: that number is inflated because the only good team they've played is Florida.
Yes,
where they ran for 106.
And Florida did a good job of making them earn it.
Look, Florida's a good defensive team all around.
Yep.
Yeah. Here's my question: Is what we saw from South Carolina against Mississippi State stopping the run? Is that repeatable? Like, is that them kind of coming into their own, or is that kind of all right? They stopped it great last week, but they come back to earth this week.
I'm going to believe that's the start of something good going forward.
Start of something great.
Yes,
I think they come back to earth a little bit. What did?
But it's close.
Mississippi. No, I mean, what did Mississippi State's back have? 27 yards.
27 yards.
I mean,
it got to the point where they just abandoned it completely.
And they were like, "We're not doing this."
Throwing the ball pretty well. So.
They were, but they weren't getting anything. They got stuffed half the time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to do to Tennessee. Yeah. I don't think you should expect them to do to Tennessee what they did to Mississippi State. But can they? I mean, if they play the run technique-wise,
right,
as well as they did against Mississippi State, they'll hold Tennessee to 100 and something yards rushing.
How many more buy or sells do you have?
I'm kind of making them up as I go, Tyler. So you want to do them on the other side? Is that what you're saying?
We can finish them on the other side. We'll also hear from Coach Beamer as far as injuries for tomorrow's game goes, as the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on a Football Friday rolls on here on the game.
Yeah, we were talking the other day at practice when the last time we played up there at night was. I was up there in 2009. Yeah. That was the Halloween game, and I didn't know about 2011. So it'll be a great environment. Prep's been good. First of all, you're right. Last Saturday was a great win over a good Mississippi State team.
Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on Football Friday here on the game. That, of course, was the voice of Coach Beamer. Last night talking to Todd Ellis on Carolina Calls about the prep for Tennessee coming up tomorrow night. We continue on with our buy or sell segment. How many more we got? We got 2 down already. Going to 4. What are we doing here,
I mean, you never know what's going to pop up.
You're just calling it on the fly.
Yeah, I think we got 5 total, but the final one is just who wins, obviously.
Okay, that's fair.
All right, this one is courtesy of caller Chris Clark. He says that Joey Milton does not throw interceptions, and
He doesn't.
that has been confirmed.
Yes, it's true.
I'll give you the stats, too, to back it up in case you don't believe me. Joe Milton has thrown 1 pick this year. That was against Florida. 8 touchdowns, 1 pick. In 2022, 10 touchdowns, no picks. Now, he was a backup to Hendon Hooker. 2021, he was...
Started the Orange Bowl.
He started the Orange Bowl. Yep, that's fair. 2021, he only attempted 62 passes, 2 touchdowns, no picks. So he's thrown 1 pick since 2020. Now, he's only been a full-time starter for, several games.
Right.
But nonetheless, pretty interesting stat.
So buy or sell, South Carolina will get an interception versus Joe Milton tomorrow evening.
I'll sell.
Oh,
Tyler
streak
selling.
continues.
I mean, you can't intercept it if he overthrows it.
That's
shots.
Shots fired. Wes was like, "How is that possible?" And I did say, he either hits somebody or tends to kind of hit nothing sometimes. I'm going to buy. I'm going to bank on USC getting a single interception off Joe Milton. And another interesting little fact here, Wes, our guy, Gamecock Russ, another shout out to him. Gamecocks have not picked off a Tennessee quarterback since 2016. Josh Dobbs.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I am buying, but I also have had a gut feeling all week that it seems to go this way in Knoxville. Turnovers seem to become big factors when these two teams play, specifically in Knoxville. And a lot of times, though, it's been South Carolina who has had a big turnover or two that it feels like have just affected things, affected the outcome. Even a few years ago, end of the Spurrier era, after Spurrier had already sort of retired or left or whatever you call it, South Carolina has a chance to beat Tennessee. They're driving to score and tie the game at the end. They have a completion to Jarrell Adams. Ball gets hit. They fumble. I think I remember a key fumble all the way back Lou Holtz days, maybe when Demetrius Summers was running for 1,000,000 yards on Tennessee as a true freshman. So I feel like turnovers are a factor here. I am buying, though, that South Carolina will pick off Joe Milton, but I think they're going to have to. I think they need to force a couple of turnovers if they're going to get off the field this weekend. Let's go ahead and move forward. South Carolina will win the game. We'll, I guess, give our scores at the very, very end. But buying or selling, and why?
I'll buy. I think their ability that they showed last week against Mississippi State to stop the run, like I said a minute ago, will continue. And I think you force Milton to throw the ball. Now, there certainly is a concern with South Carolina and their ability to guard a little bit deeper down the field and what we saw last week against Mississippi State. Now, Milton, not great throwing it down the field, so force him to do the things that he's not good at. You get TJ Sanders, Tonka, those kind of guys putting pressure on him, forcing him to throw on the run, which he's not been able to throw a touchdown on the run, as we talked about the other day, just kind of forcing them to throw and make Milton uncomfortable and do things that he's not good at doing.
I'm going to... Am I doing this right? Buy if the Gamecocks win, right?
Yes.
That's what you did. Okay. Thought so. Yeah, I'm buying a Gamecocks win. Y'all are going to make fun of me, but I do think it'll be close. I picked a close game last week.
I did too. I picked a close one.
I think I picked I want to say a 4-point game. I'm actually picking a 4-point game this time. Got Carolina winning a close one. I think they do just enough. Key stop, maybe a key pick, and Spencer Rattler, number 7. Xavier Legette, a little bit more ground game success building on last week. That's what I've got.
I picked them to win, too. A lot of people on our staff picks went very high with the scores. I went a little bit lower. Chris went a little bit lower as well. I said 31-27. There were 42-35s on here, 38.
Lower than y'all's.
What do you got?
Well, we're supposed to give it away at the end of the show, Wes.
Oh, well,
true.
I just screwed that
Yeah,
up, I guess.
it.
But we'll save Tyler's for later. But South Carolina has traditionally not scored a ton of points in Knoxville either, is another part of this. So if they're going to win, I think I don't think you want a shootout. I don't really think it's going to be a shootout. I think Tennessee's defense is actually pretty good. And, again, broken record alert, can you keep that pass rush, which has been pretty good, out of Spencer Rattler's face is clearly going to be a massive key in this game.
We got one more?
That's it.
That's it? All right, let's hear from Coach Beamer and the injury update from last night on Carolina Calls.
They're doing okay. AB practiced every day this week. He'll be available on Saturday night. O'Donnell practiced every day. Spalding practiced every day. All three of those guys will be available. Are they 100%? No, but they're fine in order to play Saturday. I would say Ja'Kai is questionable right now, but if he's not able to go, that means Trevon Ball will be in there at right guard. That'll be our second true freshman offensive lineman that we would be starting. But Tro played most of the game last week against Mississippi State after Ja'Kai got banged up and has done a great job, and he'll do a great job Saturday night if he's in there.
Of course, Juicewell is obviously going to be out this weekend, healing from that foot injury from the other week against Georgia. Ja'Kai Moore thing is interesting, especially when we talk about the rotation on the offensive line, where you ideally would maybe like to put him out at right tackle, have Trevon Ball playing at right guard. Last week we saw Wanamaker play at right tackle, and then Moore and Ball kind of split the snaps there. So if Moore can't go, then you're talking about Ball at right guard, and then Wanamaker most likely at right tackle as well.
Yeah, Wanamaker played I think most, if not all, the game at right tackle last week. So he, maybe has been coming on a little bit there. I think certainly with Ja'Kai being banged up and Ball coming on as it is anyway, you would probably think that would be the route you're going to go there if you're South Carolina. And, I think depending on, once again, we talked about this last week, how healthy is AB? Because, him practicing every week, it certainly feels a little bit stronger than it was this time last week. If you're South Carolina, you certainly hope that's not something that is lingering. But I think against this Tennessee defense, you're going to need some make you miss. That was the key to the game last year, is winning one-on-one battles for South Carolina's wide receivers. I think AB is a guy who can do that for you. And he's the guy I circle. Like, if you're South Carolina, it can't just be Leggett. So getting 10 back in there and having him make some plays, I think could go a long way for you. So I think this is actually a key thing to monitor, a key storyline. Is AB back? And we know he won't be 100%, but is he close enough to 100% to make an impact and get open?
I know we've said this before, but it makes what Spencer Rattler has done and the competitiveness of this team on offense, it makes it even more impressive when you consider that for much of the season, they've been playing with one starting wide receiver, basically. That's it. You've got Omega Blake stepped in and done some things. Eddie Lewis has stepped in at times. I think they need him to continue coming along, and others. Luke Doty has stepped up and done some good things. But they need as many guys back as they can. And AB, I know, Wes, you made this point after watching him against North Carolina. He looked the best I think he's looked in terms of his explosiveness, make you miss. He's a really, really tough, and I think always has been, really tough one-on-one cover. And I think South Carolina with Dowell Loggins, it seemed like they were on a path to unlocking how to use him, how to get him in space. And so it would be huge if they could get him back to where he's not just on the field playing 20 snaps and he's just kind of out there, if he can actually make an impact. Also, punt return. Could he be out there and make a big play? Eddie Lewis had a nice one last week. They need AB. They need as many game-breaking types as they possibly can get.
Absolutely. We'll come back, give our final thoughts and score predictions for what's going to happen tomorrow night up in Neyland Stadium. It's Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs on a Football Friday here on The Game.
It's 1st and 15, all the way back at the Gamecock 40-yard line. Four-man rush. Rattler in the pocket again. Down the middle of the field. Caught at the 25. Josh Vann at the 10, 5. Touchdown, Carolina. Touchdown, Josh Vann on the second absolutely brilliantly threaded throw from Spencer Rattler on the night. This one's good for 60 yards. Are you kidding me?
Welcome back in. Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs. Todd Ellis on the call. Last year for the Gamecocks victory over Tennessee back in November, that was the 60-yard touchdown from Rattler to Josh Vann that gave them the 14-7 lead halfway through the first quarter. I was talking about this with Colin earlier. Like, at what point did reality set in for y'all? Like, hey, they can actually win this game. Like, I know, obviously, you come out in the first half and you're kind of going back and forth with them, but I go back to when Tennessee got that touchdown at the start of second half to make it 31-35. That was almost kind of like, all right, this has been fun, but now this offense for Tennessee is going to take off. They're going to win the game, 56-42 or something like that. But obviously that didn't happen. Only allowed one more touchdown after that, and South Carolina cruised to a blowout victory.
Yeah, I'm with you. When they cut it back close in the second half, you were kind of like, all right, this was like a boxer who is just given his best shot, and then, they kind of took the shot but kept fighting, kept battling, and then you're like, all right, if it gets back to equal, you kind of have missed your spot, like you missed your chance. And so if you look at, let's see, I just pulled the game back up. Tennessee scores, cuts it to 35-31. And then South Carolina answers, 9-play drive, 65 yards, takes almost 5 minutes off the clock. They go back up 42-31. When they answered with that after that touchdown, I was kind of like, this may be happening. Like, South Carolina has put themselves in a position to go win this game. When now South Carolina scored again to go up 49-31, somewhat early in the fourth quarter. That was the Jaheim Bell 2-yard touchdown pass where Rattler rolled all the way to the right, rolled all the way back around, and then flips the ball to an open Bell. At that point, that's when I think everybody around me was like, this is happening. Like, South Carolina is winning this game. And then the beauty of it was they just said, we're going to tack on. Like, there was a little message there in the tack on at the end, I think.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it was. I'm with y'all. So to open the second half, everybody felt great at the half. To open the second half, Tennessee punted. Like, oh, here we go. But then you punt, and then Tennessee scores a touchdown.
That was their only punt of the game, right?
And that's their 35-31. Who's
South
South
Carolina?
Carolina?
Yeah, South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. But then the Gamecocks answered that with another drive where you're just moving the ball consistently down the field. They did convert a third down in the Tennessee red zone that eventually led to a Juice Wells touchdown run. And I think that was the point. Then you're 42-31. You force another punt later in the third quarter. And I think, at that point it started becoming real. And then by the time Jalen Brooks scored that last touchdown that Wes mentioned, that was just ecstasy time in Williams-Brice Stadium. That was that solidified the realness of it. There's no way that this is not happening now. And I think I was with some people that it took that to fully realize this is not fake.
Best atmosphere y'all have ever seen in Willie B?
I'm not going to be a prisoner of the moment, and I'm going to say no. It was great, but it was not the best atmosphere I've ever seen.
Okay.
Georgia 2012 was the best atmosphere in Willie B history. Now, some people that were there will also tell you 2001 South Carolina, Florida, Lou Holtz era did not go well, but for about half a quarter in pregame, craziest atmosphere I've ever seen, maybe. But I had almost forgotten. Tennessee actually 2-for-1'd South Carolina in the middle eight.
Mm-hmm.
You hear coaches talk about they scored with 12 seconds to go in the first half.
Yep.
This is after South Carolina scored with just under 3 minutes to go, and you're thinking, they could go to the half up 35-17. That was a real momentum shift to give up the touchdown before the half, then give up the first touchdown in the second half. And so, I remember that moment in the stadium where everybody's kind of like, oh, boy.
Yeah.
But they kept, to give South Carolina credit, man, they just kept on rolling.
Rematch coming up tomorrow night, 7:30, which you can listen to right here on the game. Last thing, score predictions. What are we thinking?
What you got, Chris?
So I said earlier, 4-point game, picking another close one. I've got South Carolina 28, Tennessee 24.
There you go.
You said yours a minute ago. What was it?
31-27.
Okay.
I think it's going to come down to turnovers, honestly. I think not just from a typical, turnover, who wins the turnover? Literally, I think there will be a late turnover from somebody that will be the difference in this football game.
Okay. I'm thinking along the same lines as you. 3-point game, 27-24. Maybe
27, 20.
game-winning field goal.
Oh.
Mitch Jeter, game-winning field goal.
Game-winning field goal.
In the dark mode.
100,000 people going
Crowd.
silent at the last second. Yeah.
Oh, you're thinking last second.
Yeah. Why
See,
not?
I didn't know. You remember like Mitch Jeter game-winning field goal against Clemson? Like it comes like in the course of the game, ends up being the game-winning.
I'm an
The
agent for
silencer.
chaos, guys.
I love it.
Wow.
Silence 100,000 people all at once. And just
All
let
dressed in
Let
black.
the mustard fly from the stands.
Kendall Smith is very worried about that, by the way. I'm like, they don't literally just throw mustard bottles every game.
Oh, Kendall. That'll do it for today's edition of the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour presented by Firehouse Subs on a Football Friday halftime show with myself and Elijah coming up right here on the game.
Who do we have? Okay.
Afford Anything talks about how to avoid common pitfalls, how to refine your mental models, and how to think about how to think.
In the world of money and investing, it can be easy to be dogmatic about your beliefs. You're part of the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, or you hate it, you hate it, you hate it. And either you embrace credit cards as a route to getting airline reward, or you follow the Dave Ramsey camp and believe that you shouldn't touch them because if you play with snakes, you might get bit. Afford Anything, wherever you listen.
Hey, it's Rich Eisen. You want an exciting and fast-paced podcast based on one of the most popular segments in the history of The Rich Eisen Show? Well, you got it. Overreaction Monday, hosted by me, Rich Eisen, and my compadre, Chris Brockman. And every Monday, we're going to dive into the headlines from pro and college football and overreact. Are you ready, Chris Brockman? Yay or nay?
Yes, Rich. No holding back, buddy. I'm coming for you.
Absolutely what you need to hear. Overreaction Monday, every single, wait for it, Monday, wherever you listen.
You loved Lala Kent on Vanderpump Rules. Now get to know her on Give Them Lala.
The Gen Zers, you know, they love to like be Gen Z, are calling Margot Robbie mid. On what planet is Margot Robbie a mid? Who's judging this? Like, are women judging it? The people, the forward haircuts.
Yeah. Don't bring my people into this. The people with the foreheads, babe.
We all agree that she's a 10.
Yes. Give Them Lala wherever you listen.